Hey, coaches, kicking off today's Football Scoop Online Clinic. We have Altavista High School offensive line coach Matt Allen joining us to talk about how they found a way to combine the air raid with power run concepts. So, Coach Allen, it's all yours, man.
All right. I'll introduce myself. My name's Matt Allen. I'm the offensive line coach coming up this year at Altavista High School. If you want to go through if you have any questions or anything or want to contact me after this, that's my contact info and ways you can reach out to me. I'm big on Twitter at football_Allen. Just to give you a little background, I said I'm just coming over to Altavista Combined School, but a little background history on them before we get started. State football champions in 2009, 2013, 2014 in the state of Virginia for single A football. Their head coach, good friend of mine, Andy Cox, brought me over. I'd call Andy the ring whisperer. He has 7 state championship rings to his name, and he's not even 40 yet. That just comes from winning 3 at Altavista, 3 at Appomattox County High School, and then 1 as a player at Rustburg High School. And then if you've heard of Altavista in the news, you probably heard of Juan Thornhill, who's a Super Bowl champion safety for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hey, Coach, can you hit that present button so it goes full screen?
Yeah.
Up there there we go.
No problem.
Perfect.
A little background info on me. For the past 4 years, where most of this clinic talk will be coming from is my time as a head coach at Chatham High School. Prior to that, I served as an assistant football coach at Buckingham County High School in Virginia, as a student assistant at Hampton-Sydney College, and I played for a year at Washington and Lee University. If you know any of those schools in and around Virginia area, especially Washington and Lee's big into the triple option run game, Buckingham County High School's big into the power run game. I came from a power base. I came from a power run game base, so a lot of this talk about blending things with the air raid is a little bit wild. I didn't think 5 years ago I'd be talking about it. I got a picture up there, my head coach, the entire time I was an assistant at Buckingham County, and that's where I went to high school, Craig Gill, a lot like Woody Hayes. He said, if you pass the ball, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad. So, I grew up, before I became a head coach, playing in an offense and coaching in an offense where we might pass the ball 3 or 4 times a game. Even when we had good quarterbacks, we weren't really slinging the ball around. And then I became the head coach at Chatham High School. And a little background info in Chatham. I came to Chatham in 2016. They have had 69 years of football. In that time, 14 winning seasons and 4 playoff appearances. And last year, 2019, we got 1 of each. So when I got there in 2016, I found a team that wasn't big, wasn't strong, wasn't fast, wasn't mean, wasn't tough, and we had low numbers. So we had to figure out something to, 1, get our numbers up. 2, how do we go about giving ourselves an advantage? We play in a very tough physical district. I talked about the Dogwood district. Altavista, where I'm going to now, I just talked about their 3 state championships. If you look at small school ball in the state of Virginia, Altavista is a 1A with 3 state championships. William Campbell High School had Charles Haley go there back in the 80s. There's multiple state championships in football. Appomattox County High School just got done winning 4 of the last 5 state championships in 2A football. If you keep going around, Gretna High School is a local powerhouse. They had a guy who set the record for all schools in the state of Virginia for all-purpose yardage. A guy named Vic Hall. They won multiple state championships in the 2000s. And then if you want to go to teams that didn't win state championships, Dan River High School, those who don't know where Dan River is, you might know Tremaine Edmonds for the Buffalo Bills and his 2 brothers who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we're talking about 4 NFL kids, a lot of tough physical football, multiple state championships. It's something like 14 out of the last 18 years, a Dogwood team has been in a state championship game in December in Virginia. So we had to try to be different from that. If we tried to be physical, if we tried to be tough, this is what all led to us going to air raid. If we tried to be like everybody else, we weren't going to be successful. We also needed to attract kids, and we needed to do somewhere we can make up for our lack of strength. So that's why we started studying the air raid. I got into a lot to reading into Mike Leach and Hal Mumme and what Hal did when he went at his first stop at Iowa Wesleyan, and just trying to, how do you make things different? How did, I got into looking into Hal and looking into Mike and seeing how they were able to win at places that historically didn't have the talent as much as their competition. It's no offense to the Texas Techs or Washington States. It's no offense to Kentucky back in the 90s with Hal. They weren't meant to be as successful as they were. So I tried to find the secret there, and that's why we went air raid. Success of the offense, this is where we need to blend in more of the power run game. This is where we changed up how we run inside zone. This is how we changed up how we run power. And 2018, our first 2 games putting in the offense, 233 yards passing, 38 yards rushing combined. I would have fired myself. The next 2 games, we adjust how we run the offense. We adjust how we employed the running game. And we crank out 664 yards passing and 212 yards rushing. By the end of the year, we end up throwing for nearly 2,000 yards, leading our region in passing, ran for 700 yards. Way different than what we thought it was going to be the first 2 games. This past year, we brought the team back for the most part from a 1-9 rough season, and we end up throwing for right at 1,700 passing yards. If my quarterback doesn't get hurt, I think we throw for well over 2,000 and rush for over 2,300 yards. Finished 6-5, one of the biggest turnarounds in the state of Virginia, second in the region in passing yards. And again, we missed our best receiver for 5 games, and our quarterback was basically unable to throw the ball for 2. And then we were named locally for the city of Danville. We were named the quarterback and coach of the year for our success this past year. Just to sort of give an idea before we get into this, a lot of people say, well, how can you be successful in the air raid and the power offense? Because they both take time. This is just our typical practice week. We take about 20 minutes of install a month. This is our typical practice week for how we focus on offense. Because the big thing I want to get across to guys today is you don't have to have athletes dripping everywhere and have, go to platoon to do this type of stuff. I coach at a small high school. Chatham had little over 600 kids last year. When I first got here, we had barely 40-something in the program, pushing 50. By last year, after a little time with the air raid, we had 80 in camp. It gets the kids excited. It gets the kids out. But we have to be flexible with our time because our guys are playing both ways. I know most of the clinic talks I've gone to or most of the clinic talks I've talked to, guys can recruit their kids. Guys can get, talent among talent among talent. I don't have guys like that, and this is how we made it work. So Monday, we're going through 20 minutes of install and then 15-minute focus period. Usually in that focus period, I have something that we picked up on in film I want to attack. Tuesday's generally our heavy defensive day. We'll go 20 minutes of T-Mo at the end with a 10-minute focus period as well, generally when I'm working more inside run and pass routes versus air. Wednesday's our heavy offensive day, 10 minutes TTO, where we're flying around, going plays on air. And we just try to get as many reps as possible. People want to talk about how you can really employ the air raid. You got to get the reps. I like reps even if they're on air. Then we'll go 20 minutes of individual offense. I worked primarily with the offensive line at Chatham, and I'm excited to work with the offensive line at Altavista. And we just go and we get after it, and that's where we work our run game. Then we go 15 minutes of inside run where we bring the backs over. Meanwhile, while we're going inside run, the receivers and quarterbacks are going pass scale. They're going RBA pass scale. We'll bring a defense in after about 20 minutes, and then we'll get 20 minutes of T-Mo. So total of about 3 hours a week focused on offense is all we really get out of it, and we're able to put in a lot of stuff. The keys to the philosophy that we found is where are your best personnel going and how do you plan matchups? What is going to be your bread and butter in the run game and how it's going to complement one another? How do you combine the two to get into the RPOs? We get a few RPOs in. And how do you find green grass with it? First big thing, best personnel. How do you get your best athletes the ball? This is going to be one thing I'm going to tell high school coaches over and over. Where are you putting your best receivers? In 16 and 17, we didn't run the air raid. We ran in 16, when I coached defense, we ran primarily sort of like a shotgun wing T type of offense. And then in 17, we ran more of a traditional, I'd call it like an early 2000s spread offense, because I didn't really, as a play caller, dedicate myself to knowing the air raid enough. And then winter of 17 into 18, we started to look more at the air raid and what we could do. I got receiver 1 and receiver 2 up here. These were our 2 primary targets in 18 and 19. Between 16 and 17 combined, so this is 1 year, 2 years combined for each of them. You see, most receiving yards we had one kid had 721 yards combined in 2 years and 8 touchdowns in 2 years. And each of those guys played 19 ball games. I mean, our receiver number 1 guy, a kid named Hunter Furr, had 500 yards receiving in his sophomore and junior year. Well, Hunter, his senior year, receiver number 1 in 10 games, ends up catching 59 balls for us for 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. Receiver number 2, a kid named Zay Edmonds, only played 6 games for us because of injury, but in that time had 38 catches, 566 yards, and 8 touchdowns. What did we do that made it different? We moved them to the slot. What we figured out with our quarterback and what we figured out with matchups, in small school, high school ball, and I'm sure this is similar across the country, your best cover guys are generally going to be your corners. You're not really used to the safety or an outside linebacker being the guy to cover the number 1 receiver. And for a lot of teams we faced, that's what we were putting them in. We were putting our receivers in a matchup to face an overhang linebacker. And for small school football, we found that the overhang linebackers, for the most part, we could pick on those guys. We could pick on the outside safeties who weren't used to covering one-on-one. And then if we would find a team, Buckingham County High School, where I used to coach, we used to rotate around our defensive backs. So if the number 1 receiver was in the slot, the number 1 DB would be in the slot. Well, a lot of times what I would find is if teams wanted to do that to us, that's when we could come with the run, because now you have a corner playing slot, playing outside linebacker. So it was a way to keep us balanced and way to keep defenses from being able to use their matchups to take our best receiver out of games. Why the slot? It's a quick throw. It's get it out of their hands. My number 1 and number 2 pass routes are slants and then mesh. It easily got them involved in the RPO game. I'll talk about RPOs towards the tail end. Man, we ran 1 RPO, and it's just inside zone bubble. And we could kill on it both years because it helped stretch the defense. It stretched that overhang linebacker and take advantage of the matchups. Like I've been saying, generally isolate versus an overhang linebacker or a safety, I like my number 1 receiver to be that guy. Primary pass plays out of it, we ran slants, we ran bubble, we ran smash, smash, fade. I'll talk about these in depth. But really what we're trying to do is pick on that overhang. Okay, so our all slants, I'll go through, I have a little schematic drawn up. Our all slants is a little bit different. People will tell me it looks like levels. So we're going to run, I like to run this at a 3x1. So up here we have our Z, our H, and our Y. I like this Y to run a little 1-step slant, this H to run a 5-step slant, and the Z to run a 3-step slant to really pick on anybody who's playing man. And I tell them it's an easy throw. This is our guy this past year, Zay Edmonds. Just get the ball in his hands. That's what I tell my quarterback to do. And if you look, let me go back. If you look at how the play develops. So Zay's been getting most of the attention right here. So him on the 1-step slant right there. We see both linebackers come down and submerge on him. Our H-back, our tight end, Carlos, comes in with a slant over top to sort of just go behind the 2 guys converging on Zay. And he's able to catch the ball and get a first down. That's a kid who'd never played football before his senior year, and all he wanted to do for us was kick. And we figured out he could catch the football. So our slants, just like I told you, we're taking the H up top for a 5-step. I like the X to be a 3-step. We have our Z on the right, our X on the left. And we have our Y with a quick 1-step slant. I love it out of 3x1 for the most part. And then things you can add to it. This comes from our 2018 film, so this is a good film to just take a look. When I talk about we didn't have the athletes to match up, we're playing William Campbell High School right here. They're two safeties, two twin brothers who end up going to VMI and Virginia Tech respectively. Here's my little wide receiver who's now in community college. And this is what we're able to do, because you see there, okay, most people are determining early on with us, hey, we can just blitz them. If they're going to throw the ball all the time, we're going to blitz them. Well, they're going to run. They're going to blitz both their inside linebackers here. I love defenses that'll blitz both their inside linebackers here. They had the safety playing back off of Fur. This is when he was right at 1,000 yards receiving. And like I said, just get open, just fill the space. You see all the space vacated right there. And this overhang player seeing the little 5-step slant right here and having to converge on that. So Fur, just find your space, get open, and then we let him make plays. He gets a little hot doggy right there at the end, but after you just shook two guys, they're going to go D1 and you're not going to go to college. You're going to go to community college. I'm happy for you. Another one now. Now, this is what we also teach our receivers. The cool thing I like about the air raid is the adjustments you can make it. We work on our guys in the mesh drill. We'll talk about mesh in a minute, but we work on finding space, finding space, finding space. See what the defense is doing and be able to find the space and adjust your route. And this is what Fur does a good job of doing right here. Oop. See, I'm working on it here. Fur does a good job of doing right here. He's going to find the space before the linebacker converging. He's going to have this linebacker coming over to get him right here. He goes behind him now. He makes it a little bit longer, goes behind him, and is able to get the touchdown. Adjustments we can make off of the slant routes. You can shoot off the inside receiver. When I talk about a shoot, I'll take my Y and I just call it, you can call it a rail route. I don't call it a bubble route, but we'll call it like a rail. I tell them they're just shooting into the flats. And they're just going to shoot and throw a little whip route into the flats to sort of give that rub concept. We'll also set up the sluggo with our inside receiver as well as the wheel and the shoot with our tailback to create that pick right there for the outside linebacker. Mesh. I love the crossers. It gets us in space, and I'll show you we run mesh a little bit differently. Right here, our quarterback, Ethan, ends up throwing down to the tailback check down. Our tailback needs to get out a little bit quicker there. But we like to run the tailback and the play side receiver. We only run mesh one way. We run it out of what we would call deuce right. We like to run this play side receiver and the tailback on the smash concept right here, and then come back to the mesh. My backside receiver right here is doing what I call a get back in the picture route. So all the passing concept is going to this side primarily. His job, if I have a gift, so if I have an open slant, this guy's staying way off of me, okay, our quarterback knows to throw the gift right first thing. But if not, he's coming back and working his way across the field, what I'd call a get back in the picture route. And one of the things we learned to adjust with the air raid is run it one way. One of the things that air raid principals say, Mike Leach talks about, is running things in a right-handed type of way. Our first year to second year, this became a lot better play because we ran it out of one formation. I used to have mesh at a 2x2 to the right, 2x2 to the left, 3x1, tight end. We run mesh out of 2x2. Adjustments, we'll tag our guys into a sit, so mesh it and then just stop. We'll tag them into mesh and return, so they'll get to the midpoint and then just return back. And then we'll tag our tailback. Instead of doing this rail route or this shoot route right here, he'll just turn it up for a little wheel route to sit in right here. Okay. One of my favorite plays is smash. And I'm not a true air raid purist, so you're not hearing me say 92, 90, 91, 90. I'm getting more into the air raid certification. We did a lot of self-study on it, and we just had to make it work for our guys. Our smash here, normal smash, we're having the 5-step hitch right here from our outside guy, and then we're going to do a little post corner from our inside guy. We like it out of 2x2. There's this kid, Carlos, again. Never played football before. Caught a big pass here for us. And then we'll adjust with smash. This is smash going the other way. I told you about our slot receiver who's pretty good, Zay Edmonds, this past year. This is probably our best athlete on the field, and I just tagged him here on a fade. So he's just going to bend in and then fade out. And that's how we adjusted the smash there. So that one, he's just sort of just fade. He's going to give him a little move. It's not really a post corner, and he's just going to fade to the back of the end zone. And then we got wide corner, good play off of smash. Gives us convergence at the flat area. And, you know, your wide corner is your snag play. So we got him up here. We got our outside receiver running the snag route. Our inside receiver is just kind of giving that bubble route or giving that rail route to just get into the flats right there. And then our Y is going to take the corner off. He's going to take the top off right here. And that's how we wanted to look at a 3x1. Let it play here. This is actually one of Zay's last plays of the year before he hurt his knee. And he just sort of drifts into the corner. I don't really like the post. I don't really like his corner as much as it could. It's more of a fade route, a little lazy route right there, but it got the job done. And then on the backside, we're just having a backside get in the picture route, slant type of look. How do we run it out of 2x2? We'll call it to the wide side of the field, and now the tailback's running that rail route to get that corner to make a decision. Is he going to go back? Is he going to come up? And then I talked about adjustments to the wide corner. My favorite play we adjusted to this year. I think Drew Piscopo on Twitter is who I stole this from. Talked about scissors, where we take the inside. We would take our Y and do it instead of our H. We'd have our H just bubble out to keep the corner honest. And now after we've done sell, the Y corner, and the safety's going to start coming over top for the corner. Well, now the X, instead of running the snag, is going to put his foot in the ground and run a post. And we've also tuned it up where we've made it a true sluggo with it to really sell it. And a lot of times we can catch guys napping with that. And then the last one, really, which we like to get into our slot, is our Y pop play. This was originally our second level RPO, and we got sick of getting called for linemen downfield, so we just turned it into a play action play. So now we're running fade out to the 3x1 side. We're running a slant to the backside, and our Y is just told just to fit the space of where the defender goes right here. So if he keep hitting the wrong play button. If he comes down, fit over top, he stayed out, so Zay just fit underneath. And we did a big play on second and long. Okay. Second big thing in the offense, bread and butter run. How do we keep the run game simple? We talked about it before. Guys didn't understand like how in the world we could combine power run game and air raid because they're both expensive topics to practice. I mean, if you're going to practice the air raid and install the air raid, you have to practice it constantly. If you're going to practice power run game, you have to practice it constantly. So how do we do it? Our number one and number two run plays are inside zone and G, our number one and number two concepts. The front side blocking, when I pull up our scripts, when I pull up our schematics right here, look exactly the same. Our inside zone is a little bit different. I like it. Majority of guys will leave that backside defensive end unblocked. We're going to leave the play side defensive end unblocked. In 2018, we tried a more traditional inside zone look and leaving the backside guy unblocked. We tried to run some out of pistol, and it just didn't really work for us. When we adjusted it, and especially in 2019, when we combined it with our G look, our rushing numbers tripled. So how does that look and how does that set up? Well, with the inside zone, I got it drawn up here versus a 4-2 defense, okay? With our inside zone, majority of people have the tailback over here to the left if they're going to run inside zone right, and they're going to run the cross-face read where he's hitting hard into A-gap right here, and the quarterback's reading backside defensive end. For us, we started reading play side defensive end, okay? So our tackle's going to disappear down to the inside linebacker. We like to run it to the one technique side, so our guard's going to get a good block right here on the one tech. Our center's going to be able to go back on linebacker, and bang, 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 everybody has an angle block. That's very nice. For our play side end, we're just going to read him. If he steps in to fill in, right here, our quarterback knows to pull it. We also have one of the things we were adjusting to this year is make a short call. And a lot of you may say this, it looks like veer, because it does look like veer. It looks like a standard inside veer run play. We can call, if I want to run to the three technique side, I can leave him unblocked. We'll dip inside of him, go for play side linebacker. We'll block the defensive end out, and now the quarterback's gap is B gap to read that defensive tackle right there. How were we able to be successful with it? I liked it. What we would do is a lot of times you're going to see what this end does right here because we run power and we run inside zone. So here he comes screaming down. He comes screaming down to attack. We had a big 200-pound kid at running back this year. So you're going to see this defensive end here come screaming down to attack the inside zone dive right here. Well, that's great. That's going to kill, him, the way he screams down right here is going to kill if we try to run our power play, if we try to run our G play. Because that's how I teach all defensive ends when I coach defensive ends, how to blow up the power. You got to scream down and you got to meet the puller in the backfield. Well, he makes his tackle, but he did not play inside zone read at all. So our quarterback, who's slow as all get out, is able to get some yardage. Another look at it. Now the defensive end's going to come upfield. Now this is when I really wish we were running power, because if he came upfield like that, we would just kick him out and we would run for days. Our quarterback gets the read call, gets the give call, and we give to the big guy who can go straight ahead. Now you look with our line, it's all downhill blocks, good angle blocks right here. I think play side guard, play side tackle could work a little bit better. 54 gets through there on the play side guard because they don't work on that double team enough. So offensive line coach, I'm a little bad about that one. But eventually our quarterback figured out throughout the year we could get guys waiting for the trap block. We could get guys waiting for the read right here. So we're reading this guy right here. We got the down block right there. And he's just sitting there waiting for 11 to pull the ball. And our quarterback got better at handing the ball off. Now, how does the G play work with it? Well, for G play, you still see we're leaving this play side defensive end unblocked. We're working the combo here. We're trying to get to our play side linebacker, trying to get to our we're using the three tech here. Our tackle knows he wants to get the play side linebacker. Our guard knows he's working with him right here. Our center knows we're blocked back. We'll leave backside defensive end unblocked on this play. That's just read by the quarterback. So really, for a lot of times, if you want to see my offensive line work, and I tell you this, my biggest suggestion to people, I can say this as a former offensive lineman, if you make it simple on your offensive lineman, you can do all sorts of tricky stuff in the backfield because you're having two guys. But if you make life simple on your offensive lineman, so we worked on double team blocking. If I had 20 minutes of Indy, we worked on double team blocking for 5 to 10 every day. We worked on our pull step with our guards a lot. But the majority of the time, we're working on how are we going to fit that double team and make it well and do it well. So here we run G. Let's go back, slow it down a little bit here. So we're going to run G here to the left side. So again, we got Ethan reading the backside defensive end cross face. This isn't exactly the best pull block in the world, Our right guard right here should get inside shoulder and sort of prevent him from being able to cross his face. But you see the big hole that's opened up. You see our defensive end here just sitting, sort of giving us that read look I want. If you're a defensive end coach for inside zone, that's what I want. I want you to sit, play quarterback. We're able to get the look right there. Our play side linebacker, our play side tackle is able to take him out of the picture, wall him off, and we did a good run. I mean, what we were able to do later on in the season as it went. So we would get defensive ends and sort of just mess with them on what they were doing. Were they going to sit and play read option, or were they going to come up and try to play the trap? Here, 62 doesn't do a great job of playing the trap at all. He comes through, head's not inside, leaves a big space, and he gets blocked just enough. Take a look at another one here. Again, I'm not really a fan of our guard's pull block right here. Not really a fan because he needs a trap inside shoulder. He doesn't get over there, but look at our play side tackle, look at our play side guard, look at the wall we have created right here to sort of seal up on the power play. We've given all these guys downhill blocks. We've all given them all angle blocks that are perfectly set up, and we're able to get a big play out of it. Now, how do you add to the G? Okay, some additions that we like to add. How do we call G? So the way I did it from my head coach, Craig Gill, brought wing T into the I, and that's what he did. So, we would call stuff, our 50 series, 55, 56, G, we numbered the holes. So I sort of took what he did with numbers and called it like that. So our two back is our running back. So what I've shown you is 25 and 26 G. When we go back here. So our tailback, so our linemen, all they care about is, okay, right here we're running 25 G. All they care about is the word G and the number 5. That tells us we're running G play to the left side. For the backs, the 20 tells them tailback's getting it. And we're able to run the play right there. Now, how we add to it, 15 or 16 G. We're going to have the quarterback keep on the counter. Here's a good look at that. We're going to run 16 G right here. I told you this quarterback's not very fast. I love the kid, probably best competitor I've ever coached in 10 years of coaching football. We're playing our rival right here that we haven't beaten in 5 years. Big, tight game. But he is a competitor, not the fastest guy in the world. So we're going to run. We've been hitting you now. This inside zone look, we've been hitting them all night. Defensive end helps us out here by not being very aggressive. He did so wide, we're able to just turn him. If I get back here. He did so wide here, the defensive play side defensive end, we're able to turn him. But we're going to get that little counter look. My tailback's been getting a lot of attention, so he keeps the backside defensive end at home, and our quarterback's able to make a good play out of it. So again, if we go back, play that back for the blocking, okay? All I've called is 16G. All the offensive line cares about is 6G. They don't care if it's 26, 16, cut back, whatever. All they care about is they know the ball's going in the 6 hole. They know it's G blocking. And we keep it simple, stupid for our bigs up front. So we're going to try. So right here, we've been hitting them all the time with inside zones. So that what pulls them. The tailback pulls them right there because we've been hitting with inside zone and G, and that's able to keep that defensive end, like I said before, keep him from running. Okay, one of the other plays, I'll go back to our additions to G. So along with that, I like 25 cutback G and 26 cutback G. That's our counter with our tailback. I don't have that on film, but I got it drawn up right here. So all we're doing now is our tailback is taking 1-2, getting the football, and following the counter step. And again, all my guys care about is they heard 26G. They did not care that cutback was in front of it. This means our quarterback really has to read that backside defensive end because he's coming in hard, and we have a slow counter step here. That's our cutback look, and then before I get to it, Super G is one we actually came up by accident with when I was in Buckingham. We called Super G right here. We called 16G, and our tailback stayed on the same side and just ran with him. So what we'll do here, I like this because it gives us the same blocking I'm about to show you in dart, or it's just down, 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 and we have a guy going play side linebacker and a guy going play side defensive end. And when I mentioned dart, so dart look. We play primarily out of 10 personnel, whether 3x1 or 2x2. If I could get this to stop jumping. So here, okay, there we go. You'll see we actually play out of 20 personnel right here. This guy was our middle linebacker. We put him in first play of the game on offense. And we're going to run something we hadn't run for most of the year, 16 dart. So what we're going to do in the 16 dart play is, ideally how it should go, we're going to leave this play side defensive end unblocked because he's going to get kicked out by the guard. Play side linebacker is going to get wrapped around by the H-back right here. It's our GT. It's a way we run GT counter. Play side tackle is going to come up from middle linebacker. Play side guard and play side center are going to get this one technique out of here. Play side guard and center are going to get this one technique out of here. Our backside tackle should scoop right there. Tailback is going to cross face right here and hold that defensive end. We did good blocks. I want our play side tackle quicker to get down to that linebacker right there. Our H-back can really take this guy out right here. Wish he had done a better job of that. But we're still able to get a good play. And my quarterback holds the ball like a loaf of bread, so I'm not very happy about that one. But not bad for a little slow kid. I talk about him being slow, but he ended up with like 800 rushing yards for the season. So 99% of that was just being a competitor. And we'll bring the dart, brings in an H-back, get the GT counter just like we showed. Here's a look on how we sort of ran. We sort of adapted to the G. I tell my quarterback all the time, this one, he just sort of follows the tailback here as an extra blocker. This guy is 230 pounds, so he could be an offensive lineman in our league. He just runs the ball well. The quarterback just follows the blocker, follows the tailback in, sort of give an extra block. There's how dart's supposed to be drawn up. Gives us more of a linebacker in the box, and that's how we ran it against Tunstall in that film I showed you. Okay. Last two things to be able to talk about are, big thing is to make the RPO go for you. Don't overcomplicate it. I know this sounds like a bastardized version of the air raid, and it's taking air raid concepts and trying to make it work for your kids. But we don't overcomplicate the RPO. I remember when I first got into RPOs, I didn't think it would be something I could teach kids, but we just do it by making it simple. It's primarily run out of the inside zone, and by now we leave the front side defensive end unblocked. So we're running sort of like a triple option play. We can attach it to the back side of G, but we have not. We ran three RPOs at Chatham. Primarily, we focused on the first one, Boston. Okay, so how would I tag it in? My Boston RPO. If I'm calling my plays, I call them on a wristband. If I call play is 37, is inside zone right. I'll tag it with a Boston word. So we might say 37 Red Sox, 37 Boston, 37 Nomar Garcia Parra. And we'll attach that bubble RPO. The O lineman knows they don't care that I attached an RPO word to it. They're just running play 37. And so what we'll do here, we're blocking our inside zone concept. I don't have film to show you of it, but we're blocking our inside zone concept here and trying to get downhill, and we're playing that defensive end like it's a triple option game now. So now you have the complicated stuff of the play side triple option. This defensive end has to make a decision whether he's playing dive or playing quarterback. If he plays dive, the quarterback is pulling. Now we're going to the overhang slot player. And our Y is taught just to stretch. You want to start inside, so I got him drawn up a little bit too wide, but I want to stretch that slot player. And I teach my quarterback right here, we want to attack this gap right here. I don't want to try to play flat. If I play flat, he can defend him. He can defend both. I want to attack right here where that defensive end has come from, and I want to make him make a decision. This slot player has to make a decision right now. Am I playing the quarterback or am I playing the slot? And that was a moneymaker for us as RPOs go. Our New York screen, we take an NYC word and attach it to the run. Now we're running our tunnel screen to our number one. So right here, the way we would change this up if I wanted to go inside zone right New York. Our Y is going to kick out that defender over top the Z. The Z is just running a little step in, step back, and boom, I'm right here. And we're seeing if the flat defender is going to come down. We got some yardage out of that, but not a ton. My other favorite RPO we had was our draw swing. In the draw swing, we're going to fast motion. So if I go back to the 2x2 alignment, we're going to just fast motion this tailback out of the backfield. Our offensive line knows on Raptor, they're blocking inside zone right. On Laker, they're blocking inside zone left. And they're just trying to get, bodies up front. We're seeing if somebody leaves the box with the tailback. If this linebacker right here hesitates at all to leave the box and can't cover our T-back, we're slinging it out to the tailback and he's getting what he can get. If he leaves the box, boom, boom, we're running inside zone with the quarterback, and the quarterback knows, hey, man, I got to keep it and move straight ahead. The big thing I think you can find no matter what film we go over, and I'll go on back to what our keys were. No matter what film we go over, guys, the big fact is you have to be able to take your personnel and put them in a position to win. I think we all know that. The reason I want to give a clinic talk is because I'm a guy who did not have, 4 or 5-star players who can't recruit his kids. Big keys to the philosophy. Where is your best personnel going? I like to put mine in the slot. How do your bread and butter run game go together? How can you simplify it for your offensive line? I like to simplify by making my inside zone similar to my G scheme. And how do you combine the two in the RPO game? I make the RPO easy because I primarily just run the one with our Boston screen, but we're going to make it like a triple option they have to defend. And the biggest thing is, guys, find green grass. How in the world do you teach your kids to find green grass and to put yourself at an advantage? And that's sort of what we did at Chatham High School and what I hope to do when going over to Altavista to sort of employ the power run game and the air raid to work together.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man. I got a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
When you're running that G play versus an odd front, so a 3-4 or 5-2, are you going to leave that outside linebacker unblocked and just kick out the down lineman?
Yeah, we try to run it. If we're going to run against a 5-2 look, so if you give me a traditional 5-2 where they're walked up, we're going to try to run it short. So we'll make a short call. We'll try to run underneath that outside linebacker and hope he gets lost in the sauce a lot of times. And that's what we'll also do with our inside zone play with it, is trying to hope he gets lost in the sauce. One of the things I really enjoy that Altavista does when they get that 5-2 is Andy was really good at bringing in tight ends to sort of change the front on that and give them the extra blockers, and how they employ that into running their inside zone game.
Yeah. Can you touch on your footwork for the quarterback on inside zone? Because, you know, I think you nailed it right on the head. I think to a lot of guys it looks like inside veer or outside.
Oh, yeah.
So just touch on that real quick.
Yeah, with footwork with our quarterbacks, I let my quarterback coach sort of take care of it the last 2 years, but we're almost taking a drop step to sort of flatten and open up. Our tailback is offset, so he's going to catch the snap and sort of take a flat step backwards to sort of get where his hips are facing the sideline. And then, you know, we're not going to take our first attacking step till the running back has come through the mesh point. So a lot of times it's just like opening up for inside veer.
Right. Yeah, that's what it reminded me a lot of. And then, you know, you mentioned being a head coach at 24 years old. You know, what are some of the top things you learned as a young head coach you can pass on?
As a young head coach, the biggest thing, I think everybody, to a certain extent, you think you know everything before you get into the head coach's chair. I remember when I was a kid, my big dream was to be a high school head football coach or be a college head football coach. I wanted, you know, all the attention. I wanted to be the guy calling plays on Friday nights. For 6 years, I worked on a great staff at Buckingham County High School, and I was, you know, just an assistant. And I didn't really have a high-ranking job, and then I got thrown into being a head coach. The big thing, I guess, for young guys who want that in your career is to just realize there's a lot more responsibility than what you would think. For me, I was shocked at, like, all the off-the-field stuff, the organization, the fundraising, everything that comes with football that's just not purely X's and O's. For me and my family, it took a lot of adjusting because, you know, I love football. Football is a passion of mine. You know, for my family, I had the interesting component. I got married the same year I became a head football coach. So my wife had to adjust to, like, oh, man, football is a 24/7, 365 thing. So the other big thing I would tell with young guys who might get that job is don't overstress it to the point where, like, it consumes you. I know for me, even at between 24 and 28, I missed a lot of time with my family, and I have a young son who's 18 months old now who I've missed a lot of time with because of doing the head coach stuff, because of going to stuff like, oh, I have to run every weight room, or, oh, I have to go to this fundraising event. You know, I've spent time doing non-football related stuff, or we're sitting out washing cars because we got to fundraise money to go to camp, or I'm going away to camp and not spending time with him. Or even when I'm home, I'm spending my time watching film. And, you know, just don't let it consume you to the point where you forget what's important. That's family. For me right now, this coronavirus stuff has been nice because I get to see my 18-month-old all the time. And it's nice to sit back and enjoy the time with him.
Great advice, Coach Allen. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Coach.